everybody. Only one kind of injury update. Noah Davis will start practicing again this week. We'll see if he's ready to contribute in some way, shape, or form, whether it's only on special teams or whatever, but we'll get through this week and just see how he's doing. Rehab is basically completed. He's worked extremely hard to get back in this position midway through the year to hopefully come back in and contribute. So I'm proud of him for what he's gone through to approach it with maturity and work extremely hard to get back here. So not saying when or if he'll see the field, but it's great to have him back out at practice and trying to fight his way back on the field.
Coach, with the Washington State game now being a 7:30 start, virtually had every game as a night game since the Northwestern game. What are the disadvantages for your team, for the coaches, of having all night games?
Well, I think there are positives, both in the preparation standpoint. You don't have to get up and go right away. You can have a meeting in the morning, another walkthrough in the morning, and make sure everybody's feeling good about everything. We have our routine down really over the last few years because we've had a lot of night games. The exposure, there's not very many games on, so everybody gets a chance to see you. But there are disadvantages. We're a national recruiter, and it's hard sometimes for those kids on the East Coast that sometimes they have to DVR the game because they're going to bed. A lot of alumni and fans express the same thing. It's tough on the East Coast to stay up and watch those. West Coast wise, hey, our people watch it and it's great. And we've had good attendance, so it's been good. It makes Sunday tough on everybody. Even when you're a home team. Your home team, you play at 7:30, and after all the stuff we do afterwards with players and media and family, not getting back to the house, until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Road trip wise, sometimes you're getting back at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And the first half of Sunday is shot. You're a zombie. And you're trying to, we have to try to put one game to bed and start working on the next game. Sunday's our players' day off for our players, and I think it's tough for them sometimes getting back to their dorms wherever they're staying at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning from a road trip, and this is the day they have to catch up on schoolwork and spend the day away from the football staff, and they're in their beds until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Half of their day is gone also. It's hard to recover from playing a late night game the following day if you have things that you need to get done. So, we don't complain about it. It is what it is, but it'd be great if we played a few more games while the sun is out.
On the conference call, you alluded to some possibly restricting the number of night games a team could play or play. Could you amplify on that?
Oh, yeah, I was presented a what-if scenario, and I thought, if the discussion came up, and it would be great to say, each team maybe plays 3 games, once you start conference schedule. You get three games at night, and the rest of the games will be at some point during the day, as opposed to playing 9 conference games and playing 7 or 8 of them at 7:30 at night. I think those are tough. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, those are tough to recover from the next day. We make do. We find a way to get it done and get all things done, and recover the next day and get back on the next opponent. But it makes it difficult.
Are you a victim of your own success because they want to highlight the high strength and the teams in the Pac-12?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's there's a lot of prime slots during the course of the day also that I think could get national attention. So it's not just us. It's everybody. It's our conference. I think half of our conference games this week again are 7 or 7:30 at night. It's being on the West Coast. It's the time slots that other people have, and it's the choice of some of the depending on which conference, which contracts, TV contracts they use. A lot of the TV decision makers make those decisions, which games they want to pick for which time slot. So we understand how it works, and it's fine. But if given a preference, I don't mind playing 7:30 at night. It's just rough when it's week after week after week. I wouldn't mind playing, as I said, when the sun's out every once in a while. Not to mention I have young kids, and we play 2 hours past their bedtime, which makes it difficult the next morning for my wife to get them to be regular human beings again.
Coach, two-part question, if you don't mind. Does the top 10 ranking resonate internally, and what does it mean for Stanford and Cal to both be in the top 20 simultaneously? What does that mean for Bay Area buzz?
Well, that's where we are. Okay. Most of you guys know how I feel about rankings. There's the one ranking that matters happens when everybody's done playing football. So that's great. Go up and down. I think the fact that, second part of your question, which to me is the more important part, is the fact that we've got really, really good football here in Northern California. Once again, I said it when they hired Sonny Dykes at Cal. That was a great hire. He's going to have success. He's going to do well. It's good for the Bay Area to have a couple of really, really good football teams that are fun to watch. The game's going to be exciting. I think it's always exciting, but I think when both teams are playing for something, playing for bowl games, I think it makes it even more special. So I think that's great.
This is our first chance to talk to you since the game. I was wondering what you thought of the elusive catch after seeing it probably 10 or 12 times like the rest of us.
There's so many things happen during the course of the game where you watch it, you have one reaction, you watch it again, and you have another reaction, and you watch it a third time, and you kind of get a perspective. I still haven't changed since the first time I saw it. I'm still in a state of disbelief. I don't know how he did it. I think the ESPN Sports Science piece on it is phenomenal. Because when they zoom in and you watch his hands, and without being able to see it, you see his hand on the perfect time clamp onto the football. It's just phenomenal. We watched it again with the players and the same reaction, which is just wow.
Injury-wise, Kevin Palmer, Kevin Anderson, other than
Kevin Anderson will be at least another week. He's doing some cardio this week. He's getting back in football shape this week. We'll get him back on the practice field next week. Hopefully be able to get him going, but we'll see. Kevin Palma, I think won't practice today, but it's looking good for the game. But we'll see. We'll see. Ankles are interesting, but he was feeling pretty good yesterday, and we'll keep him off the practice field today, and then over the next 2 days really get a chance to see where he is, and if we can go out on Friday and go through our Fast Friday and run around, then he'll be ready to go.
the uncertainty about Browning's health, does that affect preparation anywhere? Are they different with or without him mathematically, or are they physically?
I think you just have to prepare for everything that we've seen on film for them schematically. We try really hard not to prepare for individual people because I think that gets our players' eyes in the wrong spot, kind of concentrating on the wrong things, as opposed to which gap am I hitting, what am I responsible for, what angle do I need to take at the quarterback, as opposed to looking at one guy in particular. So more than anything, it's about us preparing for them schematically, knowing that the kid's made some plays now. He's made some great throws. He's a much better athlete than people have given him credit for as far as his movement in the pocket and escaping. And I think he's played really well for a young player.
Huskies are number one in the Pac-12 in overall total defense, point defense, after losing a bunch of guys to the NFL, and I'm kind of wondering how they're doing.
Great structure. I think great discipline. As I said on the conference call, it's not really surprising getting to know Chris Peterson over the last couple of years, being around him different times, and like I said, getting to know him and the way that he's always done things. He's a systematic person, and they're going to put together a structure where their players can be successful. And he's the kind of guy that gets the young people to buy in to what they're trying to do, and they can see the results of their work. It's not unlike what we've had to do here multiple years with losing a lot of really good players on defense. You come back, you put guys in position, you get them to play hard, get them to play smart, get them to play sound, and play together. And that's what you see when you put the film on. You don't see a lot of bombs going for touchdowns. You see guys where they're supposed to be. You see when someone does catch the ball, you see him tackled by multiple people, not just one guy. You see him playing good team defense.
Do they blitz?
They will blitz. They'll send 3. They'll send 4. They'll send 5. They'll drop guys in coverage. They'll play 3 deep. They'll play 2 deep. They'll play some man-to-man. So there's some variety in their scheme. But the biggest thing that comes off when you really watch it is that it's very, very sound.
This question might not even be relevant, but KJ Curtis Samuel, when you came to you guys with Don, and what do you remember of him from the recruiting process?
Liked him as a guy, and very good athlete, good quarterback. He was one of those guys when we watched him on film in high school. I mean, he found a way to will his team to victories, which you always respect in a high school player, because that's one of those things that translates. Guys that find ways to win football games, whether it's throwing it, whether it's running it, and that's what he was able to do. But I remember having a lot of respect for him as a person and really liking him as a football player.
On a similar note, Ben Burke-Irvin is a true freshman there, and I know both his mothers went to Stanford, and he made no qualms about the fact that Stanford was one choice. What do you remember about him, and was it just a matter of squeezing numbers that couldn't win here?
Yeah, it's always a number crunch, especially we lost A.J. Tarpley. We weren't losing any other inside linebackers, and we had already had, 3 safeties I think committed at the time, and Ben was one of those tweeners. But the big thing with Ben to me was I loved watching him play. I mean, it was sideline to sideline. He just found a way to get to the ball carrier. And I put the film on the other day, and I see him running around, see him get a sack against Oregon, see him making a downfield tackle in other games, and playing well on special teams. And it doesn't surprise me one bit. He's a very, very good football player that plays hard every single play. In a lot of ways, excuse me, reminds you of Kevin Anderson. When you see Kevin Anderson play in high school, he's just he can line up on one side of the field, but he's going to make tackles on the other side of the field too, just because of his desire to get his job done.
Do you guys have any plans to promote Christian for the Heisman?
For the what? I'm sorry. We're 6 games in. It's early. It's early. We've been through this thing a lot, and it's great that he's gotten recognition. We knew this was going to come at some point. That's fine. He's a dynamic football player, but it's still early. That stuff really takes hold later in the year.
So you don't have you don't have a point at which you think that it would be okay to promote him? Because, Toby wasn't promoted until late, and it cost him the trophy.
Did it cost him, or did it get him up to second place?
The fact that Stanford didn't promote him until November, I think it cost him.
Do you
It was
really?
like the closest for grace in Heisman history.
We can have a discussion off
Sure,
on that one.
But you don't have a
because
date in mind, or you're not looking at it.
it's fluid. It's fluid, and I once again, we're 6 games in. There's nothing anybody can say that actually works outside of playing great. There's nothing, right? There have been billboards in New York. There have been mail campaigns and email campaigns and text message campaigns, and there's so many different things that I think it becomes a huge distraction, and none of it's been proven to work. The only thing that works is playing great late in the year and winning football games. So that's got to be the emphasis. And, we were all sick for Toby. You could say that we didn't do enough. You could say that we needed to play one more game. Because if the vote happened after Notre Dame, he wins the Heisman. It's over. Rushes for 200 yards on national TV against Notre Dame and throws a game-winning touchdown. I mean, that's storybook stuff. But we didn't have a conference championship game at the time. The SEC did, and Alabama running back had an outstanding game and edged him out. So trust me, we've been through this a lot, and I've studied it a lot, even when we didn't have a candidate, just to watch and see. I've gone back years, and nothing anybody does works outside of playing great football and winning games late in the year. So that's my canned answer that I had prepared to ask the first person that answer the first person that asked that question.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Coach, the Francis Owusu play was all people were talking about Friday, and then Saturday you have that Michigan State end to the game that sort of switches conversation. When did you watch that play? And you know, I mean, obviously your heart was out to the shot. You know, just yeah.
The other
go
coach,
back
yeah.
on.
You know, it's any game that's won or lost that way just hurts. Just hurts because, you know, it's coach speak, but it's still the truth. I mean, no one play truly wins or loses a game. It's a series of events, right? A series of events. You know, having gone through it in the Fiesta Bowl, right, where everyone can point at one play and one player as the reason why, and you as a coach can go back over the course of the game and say, okay, this could have been a 2-score victory for us, as opposed to going down to the last play. So it's all those things are hard. I did happen to watch it live. We're out during the course of the day with the kids. It was nice to have a Saturday off. Came back and just happened to turn the TV on with a couple minutes to go. Yeah, but those things are rough, and I trust the people that are there to gather them all back up, get them come back out in a week and fight like crazy, because that's the only thing that you do. People can jump off bandwagons, people can point fingers, you know, but the good teams rally, they get back together, and they go back out there and play the next week.
Have you had any communication with Coach Harbaugh since that game?
No.
Seems like after the Fiesta Bowl, you guys did such an amazing job of rallying around Jordan Williamson. And it seems like if you're in a situation where the world sees it as coming down to one individual's mistake, that it's really important to get the message out to your team. I don't know if it's something that you feel like you need to tell your team, you need to stand behind our guys, or
No, it happens organically. You know, because when you're, in particular, when the head coach, one of the things that you have to do early on with your team is make sure that there's a hard line drawn between the people in our locker room and the people that are not in our locker room. And we can't expect the people outside of our locker room to understand the people inside the locker room. So we have to try not to, you know, Coach Billick used to say this, try not to over-explain things to people outside the locker room, because they're not going to get it anyway. So, you know, when games like Northwestern happen, hey, you know, you go back, you close the doors, and you say, this is who we are, this is what we believe in, and we go back to work. That's what happens when tough things happen during the course of the year.
I'm curious if you still think that targeting call of the Martinez play was a good call.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't know that's even – everything's debatable and everything's questionable, so I can't say that it's not debatable. But it's what we've been talking about for 2 years when we meet with the officials. Typically they happen on reverses. Typically they happen on kickoff and punt returns and interception returns. When one player is running this way and his eyes are that way, and you come full speed and hit him above the chest, you're setting yourself up. I mean, it's borderline it's defenseless player. Now, what a lot of people have gone to, which what a lot of what we've gone to, is you get in the same exact position and you shield the guy. You see it all over college football now because this is getting called. It's a player safety issue, and you can get out a protractor and see what degree the guy gets hit at. Is he going up? Is he going down? If there's a guy running full speed and you hit him close to the head and neck area, it's not going to be let go anymore. There's too many people involved in this that want these guys to be safe. We want it hard. We want it physical. We want it fun and exciting, but we want it to be as safe as possible. And when a guy's not looking and you hit him in that area, you're taking a chance, and it's going to get called more often than it's not.
Did you say Kobe is back to 3%?
No, definitely not. I think he's, hopefully we'll get him in the 90s here pretty soon. He thought last week he was probably 85 or so. We're talking about a great athlete that can make people miss. And his pocket movement last game I thought was really, really good. And then he took off to run to try to get that first down, and there was no burst of speed. Not the typical Kevin Hogan burst of speed. The quickness is there. There's no holding back for him, whereas he can play the game and do everything. But instead of having a 3rd and 1, that was going to be a first down if Kevin was 100%. So that's probably the last thing, is that last burst of explosion, which is really typical with any lower body injury, hamstring, knee, ankle. The last thing to come back is your top speed, your top explosion. And that's not back yet, but it's great to see him being mobile, moving around. There's been no issues with him throwing the football, being able to step and throw, and cushion his fall with that foot. But he's not quite 100% yet.
With all the attention around this catch, how is Owusu holding up? I mean, obviously he's watched it with you guys and stuff, but he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that gets too overconfident.
He's not a big up and down guy. He's pretty even keel. I think he's trying to handle as best as he can. I don't know that he was ready for it to take on a life of its own as it has. Best thing about him right now is I don't think he's carrying it around. It's no added weight on his shoulders. I think he just sees it as kind of cool and kind of fun, and he's got a lot of confidence in his ability to make football plays, and he's made great plays during the course of the year. And I think this is just kind of maybe make him walk about 2 or 3 inches taller, but he's enjoying it.
Did his brother weigh in on it at all, or did he mention his brother things?
So Chris and I texted back and forth the next day, and Chris outed himself. He was actually asleep. He didn't see the play, but he remarked to me that it's been great, right? Because here's an older brother that wants to see his younger brother have some success. But he did say it was interesting that here he is playing for the Jets, in the biggest market that you can find, and he's answering questions about his little brother and not about himself or his game. So he's enjoying it. He may be enjoying it even more than Francis, to be honest.
You've said a couple times that you're trying to be a little bit more expressive, thanks partly to Ronnie Harris. Have you noticed any impact? Does it resonate with the guys, you think?
The younger guys are the same. I think the older guys, because I've been so stoic, they kind of get excited when they see me crack a smile or just talk to them, about staying into it, about getting fired up. And once again, I'm not being anybody different than who I am, but I'm conscious about just expressing what I feel at the moment. And I think I've gotten good reception from the guys. Thank you.